Good evening and welcome to the April 27th, 2017 edition of FRC Media News. I'm Keith Tebow. During tonight's telecast, it's the first week potential candidates in Fall River City election can obtain nomination papers. We have a list of names who have already thrown their hat into the ring. We provide details about an opioid recovery initiative, and we look at a memorial ceremony for Gulf War veterans. But first, let's take a look at the headline news of the week. Let's check in with Will Richmond, the digital news editor at the Herald News, for joining us today. Hey, Will, how are you?
I'm good, Keith. How you doing?
Good. Welcome back. It's been a couple of weeks. You were away, I was away, and now we're back together. Sounds good. All right, let's start with what's, I guess, now becoming a feud of some sorts between Mayor Jazel Correa and the Fall River Office of Economic Development, FRCMedia, over the future of economic development initiatives here in the city of Fall River. As some background, about a little less than a month ago, the mayor asked the Redevelopment Authority, which contracts the Fall River Office of Economic Development to provide services. The mayor asked that the Redevelopment Authority Board have a special meeting to discuss sort of severing the ties with FRCMedia and the mayor's plans to create his own Office of Economic Development within city government. There were a few details at the time. We didn't know what precipitated this. Well, today, this morning, the FRCMedia board and organization held its annual meeting, and there was some, I guess some people will say, some bombshells lofted. The president of the board of the Fall River Office of Economic Development, Frank Marchioni, read a statement today which basically criticized the mayor and actually came out and said that the city is under investigation by the FBI and the Office of Housing and Urban Development over the mayor's former company, Snow Owl, as well as the allocation of some HUD funds that went toward the city's rebranding campaign. Will, let me just ask you right off the bat, this was sort of a bombshell that came out this morning. Had you or any of your reporters heard of any such investigation by the FBI involving the mayor or the city?
Well, we've been hearing some rumors from people for some time now that there was a potential investigation taking place. There were a few people who wanted to provide exact details. Some said they'd been contacted by potential investigators. But nothing really detailed leading up to today's announcement by the FRCMedia board.
Now, obviously, the FRCMedia board was not pleased with the mayor's call to dissolve the Redevelopment Authority's relationship with FRCMedia, and the city pays FRCMedia between the contract services for the Redevelopment Authority, which is, I believe, a little over $130,000, and also FRCMedia receives a community development block grant in the form of $300,000 a year, so over $400,000 available. Apparently, FRCMedia wasn't too pleased with this, and the mayor is actually accusing FRCMedia as actually being the organization that tipped off the FBI or told the FBI that there should be some sort of investigation. The mayor has said today that he knows of no investigation concerning him or the city. But with that revelation today, some are speculating that if the Fall River Office of Economic Development did sort of inform the FBI and HUD about these potential issues with Snow Owl and HUD funds, that this may be the reason that the mayor had want to sever ties between the Redevelopment Authority and FRCMedia. Is that what may be the case here?
I mean, I think right now we're dealing with two groups that have opposed each other for, publicly for the last month or so.
Yep.
And who knows behind the scenes longer. So it's tough to parcel out allegations versus fact. Certainly the FBI does not confirm or deny investigations. So they aren't saying that, what was said this morning is happening.
Right.
It would seem, it's tough to know who's playing offense and who's playing defense here. Based on the way this morning played out, FRCMedia looks like the the ones that are pushing this, whereas the mayor is on the defensive. But is this in response to the mayor's attempts to sort of restructure redevelopment efforts in the city? And so is it a matter of the FROED board playing defense against the mayor's advances on funding for economic development? There's a lot going on here between these two sides, and to kind of say um, who's in which role is pretty dicey, I think, at this point.
Right, absolutely. And this is all transpired today, previous to our recording this program. But one other thing that was interesting, as I mentioned, the mayor called for a special meeting of the Redevelopment Authority to, in effect, sever its ties with FROED. The board met and rejected that claim. The mayor also went before the city council to look at the funding. The city council, in effect, left that item to be withdrawn, so that went nowhere. The mayor is actually seeking another special meeting of the Redevelopment Authority for next week, I believe Tuesday, May 2nd, to again bring up this issue. And through all of this, there was a little detail on what the mayor was looking to do in terms of setting up a city office of economic development. Well, after the allegations from FROED and its president this morning, the mayor sat down with Joe Good and kind of unveiled some of those detailed plans of what the mayor's looking for in terms of a separate economic development office. And basically, what it comes down to is that the mayor is proposing that the Redevelopment Authority sever its contract of $11,000 a month with FROED, but that the contract would be amended so FROED would receive about $52,800 annually as a consultant to the Redevelopment Authority. The $300,000 block grant, which we mentioned earlier, going from the city to FROED, that would be trimmed from $300,000 to $100,000. The remaining $200,000 would go toward the creation of this economic development office that the mayor is looking to call Fall River Planning and Development Authority. And the mayor says that even with these changes, he's still hoping that FROED will work on some of the larger economic development projects in the city of Fall River. I would think, Will, something like an Amazon, those types of initiatives.
Right, and just to be clear, the mayor did not sit down with Joe Good to go over those details.
Okay,
that was a
sorry.
memo. A memo. That's all right. Just for clarity's sake, it was a memo that was that she obtained at the meeting on this morning, Thursday morning.
Okay.
But yeah, so certainly, as you look at things like Amazon, South Coast Marketplace, and some of those larger projects, that would be the intention of FROED under Mayor Correa's economic development plan. Whereas his office would become the more day-to-day stop for business and economic development. Certainly on the opposition side of that is those who say economic development should be independent of the mayor's office.
Mm-hmm.
This protects the city through turnover in the mayor's office, which certainly we've seen a lot of in recent years, and allows projects to continue not based on, who the mayor is, the whim of the mayor, hiring or firing outside in and out of that economic development office
Right.
under his direction. So definitely it would be a major shift from the way Fall River has done economic development for, the past decades.
Right. Well, definitely something we're going to follow, and I know the Herald News is on top of it as well, so we'll continue to have more when it becomes available. All right, one other item of note this week, we on this show on FRC Media News have talked quite a bit about the potential for a brand new Durfee High School in Fall River. Well, the school department is going to be holding a public forum next week, next Wednesday. Or is that also Tuesday as well? Let me just see. It's actually next Wednesday, May 3rd at 6:30 p.m. at the high school to begin to get citizen input about what they would like to see in a new high school. And I know Brian Fraga at the Herald, who we had on last week with Don Amata, wrote an extensive story about this. Superintendent of schools and Ken Pacheco came in, Matt Malone, the superintendent, and Ken Pacheco, who was in charge of buildings and grounds for the school department, were at the Herald to talk about the plans, not only for this public hearing, but for what they have done thus far. And there's already been a lot of work behind the scenes with faculty and staff and some students at the school about what they'd like to see in a new Durfee High School.
Yeah, so certainly the work has started. It's been months in the making now in terms of even getting to this point.
Right.
Sessions with students, faculty, staff, Durfee stakeholders, kind of viewed as visioning sessions as to, what are the things that a new Durfee would need, what aren't needed, those kinds of things have been discussed. But certainly their pitch is that this needs to be the community's high school. Being that Durfee is the one lone high school for the city's public school system, they see this as the flagship school, and that the success of it is based on the city as a whole weighing in on the future of it, and not just those who are part of the Durfee community. So that's what kicks off this public input process that starts on Wednesday, as you mentioned. I know they're planning more going forward as well. And we'll see where it goes. There's certainly no talk yet of exact cost figures. I think that's something they'll figure out more of as the final plans are developed. But I know they're also considering that this is a very unique project as they attempt to potentially save some parts of Durfee High School and rebuild around those parts that they may save.
Right. And the project has also been moving forward on a public relations standpoint. A website has been created. The website is entitled Durfee Rising, a community engagement effort on the part of actually being led by the Chamber of Commerce here in Fall River. And they have a website, durfeerising.com. You can find out more information about plans for a new Durfee High School and also information about these public forums that will be held. And Durfee Rising is also on social media. All right, Will, what's coming up at the paper over the next few days?
Sir, this weekend we're going to take a local look at President Donald Trump's first 100 days in office. We've been talking to some elected officials and residents to kind of see how they feel he's done or has not done well in those first 100 days. And we'll continue to cover the announcement from FRCMedia this morning and see where that goes. So it'll be a busy couple of days going forward.
All right, Will, sounds great. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk again next week.
All right, have a good weekend, Keith.
We'll have more FRC Media news right after this.
Here are some job descriptions on the latest hot jobs list from the Fall River Career Center. Payroll Processing Associate, Medeiros and Santos LLP, located at 657 Pleasant Street, has an immediate opening for a full-time payroll processing associate to maintain payroll information by collecting, calculating, and entering data. Job number 886-2244. Glaucoma Specialist, Center for Sight of Fall River, an ophthalmology practice, is in need of a full-time glaucoma specialist to provide advanced glaucoma treatments, technology, and procedures to their patients. Job number 885-4007. Kitchen Staff Associates, Star Incorporated, located at 386 Stanley Street, is looking for kitchen staff associates to assist in meal service, monitor and supply all units with snacks, and assist with storage and rotation of kitchen supplies. Job number 885-0184. Randstad Engineering of Fall River is looking to fulfill the following positions. Quality Assurance Manager, job number 884-8928. Validation Engineer, job number 884-8927. Medical Device Manager, job number 884-5111. Operations Engineer, job number 885-8707. For more information on these or other positions, visit FRCmedianews.org or call the Fall River Career Center at 508-730-5000.
Welcome back. Nomination papers were available for the first time this week for candidates who want to run in Fall River's election this fall. Board of Election Chairperson Liz Camara provided FRC Media News with a list of potential candidates who took out papers on day one. And so far, it's been a pretty busy time in the election office. There are currently 3 candidates who are seeking to run for mayor. They include currently City Councilor Richard Cabaceres and residents Louis Cabral and Patrick Higgins. In City Council, incumbent Stephen Long has taken out papers, as has Russell J. Desbians, Michelle Dion, and Trot Joseph Lee. And for school committee, 2 candidates thus far have taken out nomination papers, Miriam Morales and Jessica Wong. Nomination papers will be available until July 21st. Those papers, with at least 50 signatures of registered voters, need to be certified on or before August 8th. You can visit FRCmedianews.org for comprehensive coverage of the candidates and the issues this election season. The City of Fall River co-sponsored a special event at Government Center this week to provide immediate assistance to anyone who struggles with opioid abuse or addiction. Providers were on hand to help individuals and family members who want to get treatment, are in treatment, or who need support services. While the opioid problem is a crisis across the city, Bristol County Sheriff Tom Hodgson tells FRC Media News he's all for educating the public about this important issue.
We're doing everything we can, and I think the hospitals are working with us. We're trying to educate as many people as possible about the opioid crisis and how to deal with it if they run into someone that looks like they may be heading that way or already involved with opioids. But I think we have to do a big education campaign. I think we need to, the treatment part of it is important because it's so dangerous. And certainly the passage of the marijuana law has not been, in my view, very good in helping us. I think it sets us back a little bit when we have one more mind-altering drug that really isn't going to do anything for improving the life of anyone, except for in medical conditions.
Thanks to a $320,000 grant secured by the Fall River Community Development Agency, the sidewalk reconstruction project is full steam ahead here in Fall River. That from CDA Executive Director Mike Dion.
To do sidewalks throughout low-income areas in the city. And we're going to follow up that contract with another contract going to be starting in July for another $250,000. So after all said and done, we'll have about $600,000 worth of sidewalks that'll be being done within a 4 to 5 month period, which is something that I don't think's ever been done in the city of Fall River. So it's a very, very aggressive program, and it's going to really make a difference out there to people.
Now the work is underway. When did it start?
Work is underway. Work started April 3rd. The sidewalks that are being done are throughout the city in low-income areas, so they're not clustered just in one area. So you'll drive by a lot of different places and you'll see sidewalks being done here and there. That's community development doing those sidewalks.
Concerned about the future cost of higher education, Bristol Community College students and faculty rallied against proposed state budget cuts and tuition increases this week at the Ellsbury Street campus. The Public Higher Education Network of Massachusetts, an advocacy group committed to exceptional quality and debt-free public higher education, organized the rally. Here's Executive Director Zach Bears.
Since 2001, the state has cut funding for our public colleges and universities by 31%. That means that tuition and fees have gone up $4,000 a year on average. I think a lot of people here at BCC will recognize that, you're paying $5,000 a year to come here full time or more. That's just the academic cost. That doesn't account for transportation or food or housing. And the effects that that's having on communities across the state are dangerous. I mean, there was a report out from the State Department of Higher Education that said up to 25% of students at community colleges either sometimes don't have a home or sometimes can't put food on the table. There are countless stories of people who are going to community college for one semester, out for a year and a half, coming back for a semester, out for a year and a half, or are losing their financial aid from the federal government, or just aren't getting the support that they need. And this is being perpetuated by the state government. The state is cutting funding all the time. This year, in this year's House budget, which is come out today, there is basically no increase in funding to the colleges for, the 15th year in a row.
We'll have more FRC Media News right after this.
Sid. He's a 1.5-year-old male Portuguese Pendango, and for those of you that don't know the breed, they're considered hunting dogs. He's just a really good boy. He's been here since April 11th of this year. If you'd like to see him, we're at Forever Paws at 300 Linwood Street, Fall River, Mass. Really good with dogs too. We dog tested him, and he's just really lovable. He likes to be around people. He has a lot of energy. He seems to be good around anybody. Like, he doesn't have like one aggression going in his body. He's good with dogs. We dog test him. He should be good around kids any age.
This is Sam. As you can see, he's a little timid. Sam came with a horde of cats. So he's a little bit shy, he's a little bit afraid, but he is very affectionate. He got a little bit scared because I took him out of the cat room, but he is calming down. He didn't scratch me, he didn't bite me. So he's gonna need a home where it's nice and quiet, where he can just chill out and get lots of love. He was wonderful. When I was cleaning the room today, he kept coming to me and get pet, but as soon as I picked him up and took him out of the room, he definitely became despondent. But as you can see, he's coming back again, just calming him down. And look at these wonderful, wonderful claws on him. He has the cutest little mittens. And he's 9 years old, and he's fabulous. He's just gonna be a really good cat once he gets comfortable. He's gonna be very happy. So come and get him, give him a nice home. Tell him everything's gonna be okay. He doesn't have to live like that anymore. So come see him at Forever Paws. We're located at 300 Linwood Ave, or Linwood Street, in Fall River.
A memorial service was held at Turner Park in Fall River this week to honor veterans who served and or lost their lives during the first Gulf War over 2 decades ago. Here are details from the city's Director of Veteran Services, Ray Haig.
Today we had a Gulf War Remembrance Day, which was 1990 Gulf War, and Russell Smith was killed in action in that particular conflict. And we also honor Charles Travaris, who was killed in Vietnam, who lived right here next to the park, and name is on that stone. So it's kind of a dual remembrance, but it's billed as the Gulf War Remembrance.
Vice Commander of the Veterans Council, Robert Viner, was present to give the opening address.
I certainly want to welcome you all here today. It's an honor and a privilege to be at such a famous battle, if you will, in my mind, because it was probably the one I came closest to having to go to war in this particular case, because I was in a unit that was activated to go to Desert Storm, and I was on the advance, got as far as Kuwait, and the war was over. It's a good thing they took care of it in 6 days, because I would have had some fun probably. But I want to honor all those people that served in any war, certainly, because in our organization we've got them all the way from World War II all the way up to present day. We'd love to see some more of the young people that served in the Desert Veterans Wars. There's so many of them, I don't care to name them all, but that's I couldn't remember them anyway. But the thing of it is, we'd love to see you guys participate in some of our activities. We have 12 different groups, and it would be great to have some new blood and young blood, because our guys are getting old and worn, just like me.
That'll do it for this edition of FRC Media News. You can catch FRC Media News Thursdays and Fridays at 6 p.m. and online via our website, frcmedianews.org. For all of us here at FRC Media News, I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great week. We'll see you next Thursday.